Should Arena exist in Classic Plus? I made a Reddit post about this regarding a recent Classic Plus survey, and in this video we're going to go over some of the comments, as well as the pros and cons of this existing in a vanilla version of the game. So a couple big comments I want to start with is Arena is the worst form of PvP for the majority of people. I would assume in a battleground at least everyone can play a role and have some impact. You also don't have the same type of balance issues as Arena brings. And then another is I really dislike arenas, but I don't think that is the popular opinion. Arenas are eventually what pushed me out of PvP entirely in WoW, but it wasn't because it was because I was only ever a casual PvPer. Another comment that kind of ties into this is having small maps for 2 or 4 players in an MMO is just going against why you're making an MMO in the first place. That's how you get clashes between your own design decisions. I'm all for them in an open world like Gurubashi because it's the open world and that's where Classic WoW shines. And sure, people can make a mess and create drama and it's not balanced and suddenly everyone is angry at everyone. That's okay. So this kind of ties in with a big thing I really wanted to talk about regarding these topics is the difference between the classic open world environment and then you have the automated retail instance environment. So like in classic, you have a heavy focus on raiding, and then when you're not raiding, you're trying to find something to do in the open world, like maybe go to a Gurubashi 1v1 arena tournament. Whereas in retail, you're joining an automated raid, you're joining an automated arena ranked ladder system, everything is kind of automated and instanced, and having something like ranked arena, like kind of in BC going forward, it kind of does bring that instanced environment versus, what classic vanilla WoW is, going out into the open world and experiencing something with other players socially than just, oh, I'm going to queue up for either a raid or arena in retail or BC going forward. So the top comment, 1v1 with spectators could be awesome. Imagine some dueling tournaments. So going kind of back, the previous round of Classic and even this round of Classic had a lot of dueling tournaments hosted by streamers outside of cities. Another big thing is back in vanilla, we did that in Gurubashi Arena, arranged 1v1s. That was also a big thing with streamers as well. More people even replying. As long as I can get up and interact and walk around with other spectators, I would love this. Maybe force you into a first-person perspective when you spectate so that someone can walk in front of you and block your view. Let's just hope we can throw banana peels and other food at the other participants. That would be pretty neat. So here you have another comment. Classic vanilla is great, partly because it's very unbalanced. Every class has a strong identity, and it works very well. 1v1 would be a lot of fun, especially with spectators, but I'm not sure if a ranked version would be worth it. If it's not ranked, I'm not sure if anyone would bother playing it apart from content creators. So that kind of ties in with another big topic is, in my opinion, whether it's ranked or unranked, the ranked system, even in retail, a lot of the hype comes from the backing of content creators. You have some really big names in retail on the ranked ladder system, and then even some of those names coming back into Classic. That's why the arena tournaments like in Gurubashi became a thing, because you had some of those big names hosting some of those tournaments. Even going forward into TBC, all those big arena players, hosted those tournaments or played some type of part in it. Honestly, everything that keeps people entertained between raid logging should at least be a discussion for Plus. True, it does add something more to just do than battlegrounds or farming or, trying to kill time between the next raid. For fun, sure. For ranking, hell no. 1v1 is almost impossible to balance without sacrificing burst damage, class identity, and fun. Now here we kind of get into a lot of class balance discussion, even with a lot of these replies. There's no way to control boosting and win trading, so this content should be treated like duels, maybe give some flavor rewards like a tabard for winning 100 duels or something. True, I will say that class balance and era is not really a thing, but that's how Classic is designed to be. You get into like TBC and Wrath, you have a lot more tighter CC windows, a lot more tighter diminishing returns. That's why classes like a Boomkin, who is honestly going to get nuked in an arena environment. You also have like a Ret Paladin that has no mortal strike, no mobility really, relies heavily on auto attacks. Those types of things are going to be probably really bad in a ranked arena environment. If it was like a 1v1 environment, yeah, that's fine, but not if it was like a 2v2, 3v3, 5v5 scenario. I don't think those types of classes would stack up well. They'd kind of be the weak member in the team. It's been 20 years and people still duel. The thing that kills arena is instinging, I can't even say it, it needs to be in the world as part of user created content, place bets, offer bounties. Dueling should not be a gear treadmill. I don't know how bounties would work. I mean, in retail, I know that in open world PvP, some players that are, you know, get like a bounty placed on their head, depending on how many players of the other faction they've eliminated up above, you know, the flavor rewards. I wanted to kind of go back to that. That would be kind of interesting to see because honestly, a lot of people in TBC and Wrath played Arena for the rewards, the mounts, the gear. Even the gear had a impact in rating. Like rogues had to get their BIS weapon, one of their BIS offhand weapons from Arena. How about we have it and it's not balanced? It's not like Classic is balanced as is, just like I was kind of saying. It would be lovely to see for the first week, then a clear meta will form and become stale with everyone playing the same spec. And what I was also going to say, which this comment kind of nailed, is Warlock and Frost Mage, Rogue, maybe even like a Disc Priest. Those types of classes are going to be at the top tier of the meta. You're not going to have like Boomies. You're not going to have Ret Pallies. Anything with a low mobility, low CC is not going to be in a Classic era arena environment. Top 100 players would be Warlocks. Very true. Give us 2v2 and 3v3. The classes aren't balanced around 1v1s, and the whole bracket will be filled with nothing but sub-rogues, Frost Mages, and Warlocks. Having 2v2, I think he kind of worded this wrong, but having 2v2 and 3v3 will give us classes like Paladin, Warrior, Shaman, and Druid a chance to shine. I think honestly the opposite of this. I think classes like, you know, Paladin and Druid are, you know, not going to shine in a bracketed environment, you know, versus a 1v1. That's where they are better suited, because classes like a Paladin and Druid, like I said earlier, are just not going to have a good time in a ranked arena environment. They're not going to be able, like, they're just going to get CC'd and slowed and stunned, and then GG. Some of my favorite vanilla memories are from times when you'd stumble upon a small tournament in Gurubashi. In my eyes, this is the level of arena that needs to be in Classic Plus, and that's mostly because it offers the community freedom to set rules and work around metas rather than lean into them when the game isn't meant to be balanced in a way that makes PvP a fair fight. So that's very true. It's kind of like the discussion that's been going on, you know, earlier in the post, where vanilla is meant to be more of a open world PvP environment. You throw in some battlegrounds. There's not really room for ranked arena with all these really tight class balances to the point where you can mash all these classes into a ranked team environment. It's just not the case. I mean, it would probably be fun to see, but you're gonna run into things where you'd have like a 3v3 team that's like a Frost Mage, a Rogue, maybe a Disc Priest, and then you're gonna have another team that, you know, might be like a Druid, a Paladin, and then some other healer, and it's just not gonna work because you have certain classes, like I said, that are just really high, have a lot of CC. Those CC have long timers. Balance in Classic era just really isn't a thing when it comes to PvP. If you have like a 1v1 style tournament, that's where it would kind of really only work, which would probably be fun. And so far, kind of halfway down through this post, that kind of seems like the consensus. What people want is a 1v1 style tournament with spectators. Entirely depends on implementation. The original TBC implementation led to years of shitty balancing changes for Arena to the detriment of the rest of the game. If they aren't going to balance Arena separate of PvE, then I'd be far happier not having Arenas at all. So in my opinion, TBC Arena was probably the funnest. I mean, going into Wrath, it was also pretty fun. I mean, obviously going into retail, you have really tight balance. But that's also because Arena has been going on for a long time. You have the Arena World Championships, which is going to lead to more balance. But in a Classic Plus scenario like we're talking about, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think it would work. Maybe it'd be fun to see like a 2v2 type of scenario, but not maybe like a 3v3, 5v5. It just doesn't really seem like it would work. Another person, I'm a PvP main who loves arenas, but it's pointless game mode with classic PvP being so unbalanced and item based. Doesn't really matter how good you are at the game. Winners and losers are determined via class choice primarily, and by how much time each player is willing to spend preparing for the duel secondarily. I'd rather they spend dev time producing something that can offer genuine and meaningful modes of engagement. Kind of leads me into another topic when it comes to like Season of Discovery, talking about like dev time, because obviously this is Classic Plus. This isn't really Classic Era that we're talking about. You know, classes in SOD have a lot more abilities, and I'm guessing in Classic Plus it's going to be kind of a derivative of Season of Discovery. Classes are going to have a lot more class choice, a lot more talents, a lot more abilities to kind of choose from. So then maybe they try to make it a little more tighter, closer to something like TBC or even Wrath, or who knows, even make it closer to kind of retail. That's kind of up for discussion with what Blizzard comes out and says or does. Like this comment does kind of say, it does kind of depend on what class you choose right now in an era version of the game. Because if you're like a Frost Mage or a Rogue, you're kind of on the top of the board when it comes to the PvP tier list. Absolutely, if it's integrated as a side way to just enjoy your time, it doesn't need to be a progression lane. Something people can do with others, maybe have some tabard rewards or titles, add in some ways to spice it up with power-ups or not. So, you know, we're over halfway down in the post, and this is something I also kind of wanted to talk about with the rewards. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but this seems like what a lot of players kind of want, as you know, maybe you have like a 1v1 tournament styled in Gurubashi. You have a bunch of spectators lined up around you in the arena, and whoever wins, or you know, you could make it like a bracket type system. Whoever wins gets some tabard, they get a title, you know, throw in some juicy flavor of the month rewards. And I think that would probably keep players entertained with whatever 1v1 arena system that Blizzard wants to implement in a Classic Plus version of the game. But people who couldn't crack 1800 rating in TBC but were full tier 3 deleting people, deleting trads and vanilla, disagree. For the guys in arena is unfair and it sucks. It's not a measure of true skill. Got a reply. Fun is subjective. Is arena fun? For me, yes, but only certain seasons. For the majority, I don't think so. WoW players are mostly Care Bear and insecure to the point they have a stroke when there are slight challenges. Want to clear MC, get full World Blast pre-raid BIS perfect 27 warrior comp. Oh, it's World PvP. Got to make sure we outnumber them and have way better gear. At least in arena from MOP onwards, I don't care about gear. Everything is fair. If I lose, it's because I suck. This is kind of highlighting another thing where in earlier versions of Classic, or earlier versions, I should say, of World of Warcraft, rating gear kind of has a lot more of an impact in PvP, whereas in later versions of the game in retail, everything is a lot more balanced. Everything is a lot more PvP gear focused. You know, you have PvP systems like Conquest and Honor that are directly related to you only getting PvP gear, whereas in a era version of Classic or TBC, a piece of rating gear heavily impacts if you do well in arena. Stuff like this makes me want to play on a RP PvP server for the first time just to mess around and see what kind of shenanigans happens and take part in it. Has anyone ever played on a server like that? I know demand is low, but how was the integrity of the server? Did most people play their roles? Or was it just a different regular server by the time the first few hours wore off? So I don't know really about role-playing servers. I know like arenas or dueling tournaments are a big thing on PvP servers. RP servers are more kind of for like the role-playing in a tavern. Oh, I'm in a tavern. And more of like the PvE, you know, type of content. But it seems like a lot of the comments in this Reddit post that I made are heavily focused on the 1v1 arena bracket, you know, have some spectators, kind of like the survey said. A lot of people seem like they're kind of shying away from a instanced variation or bracketed variation of like 2v2, 3v3, 5v5, whereas 1v1, which is already kind of happening with a lot of big content creators, is already kind of a thing. So if Blizzard kind of implemented an actual system around that in Classic Plus. That would kind of be cool to see, especially if they implemented like an Orgrimmar dueling arena variation other than just like the Gurubashi scenario. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about if bracketed arenas should exist in Classic Plus, and even your thoughts on the 1v1 arena dual tournaments or just 1v1 arenas by themselves at like Gurubashi or something like that. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more Classic WoW content, and I'll see you in the next video. Not a single frost vulnerability. Holy.
I got 99.
Did you really? Nice.